Hi, everybody. I'm Linda Lightfelt with Primerica.
And I'm Jackie. Linda, what do you have for us today?
I have some great tips for people to try to save money on things that they are essentials for them, basically. So, one of the areas is shopping, and it's always good to look for lower price places where you can buy your food. You know, I have recently, in the last several months, started going to Grocery Outlet. It's kind of a fun little place, but I guess they get overstocked items. I'm not sure how they work, but it's cheaper for sure. And it's always best when I go with a list, because if I don't, then I'm looking at other things that I don't need to buy. I don't know how it is in your household, Jackie, but I don't mind eating leftovers at all. I don't.
Mm.
And I know my daughter and her fiance, when they stayed with us, they would not eat, well, my daughter would not eat leftovers for anything. And I told her, I said, you're wasting food and now you have to spend more money on food. So I think that's a good one to do. And we always like those packaged food items, almost like they used to call them TV dinners. But those usually are not as healthy. They've got a lot of sodium, a lot of salt and additives, and they're more expensive. So it's better to stay away from those if you can.
Mm-hmm.
Also, have a spending limit in mind, because the best thing to do is have a budget overall so that you know what your limits are in terms of spending, how much you can spend for groceries and so forth and so on. Carry your own lunch to work, even snacks, because when you get things out of a vending machine, they're way, way more expensive. And don't shop when you're tired or hungry. That is a bad combination for overspending and getting things you don't really need.
Right.
Now, when it comes to gifts, we all like to buy gifts for holidays, for birthdays, anniversaries, whatever it is. But what if you start looking at those items all year round? And when there's
Mm-hmm.
sales, then you can buy those and just put them away until whenever you're going to give them to that person. So, how about using less of things? I know human nature is, when you've got this big container of something, whatever it is, shampoo or, whatever, people want to just, oh, I don't care if I use a little bit more. Who cares? I've got this big container. So if you kind of watch that, that's a big thing too.
Sure.
Another heading would be entertainment, because everybody likes to go out to eat. Everybody likes to go to movies. I guess if you're younger, maybe you like to go to clubs, but all of that stuff is very expensive. So once again, if you have a budget set up, then you're going to know what you can spend on these things. I know for my husband and myself, we have Netflix, which is great because then you can watch movies and you don't necessarily have to go out to movies. So our Saturday date night is watching a Netflix, and then we fix food at home. And, it's just kind of like a ritual now. We do it every week. That doesn't mean that we couldn't change it up at any time, but we could, that's what we usually do. Another thing, and maybe people don't want to hear this, when it comes to vacations, maybe you eliminate them altogether because you can't really afford to do so, unless you're going to put stuff on credit cards, and there you go. There goes the debt. Anyway, or you downsize the vacation. Maybe you stay less number of days than what you were going to.
Right.
Maybe if it's in this country, maybe you drive there, although gas prices, yeah, probably not. But anyway, there's different things you can do with that. And travel during the off season, because that's when things are a little bit cheaper. We've talked about transportation before, and especially for people that have to drive to work. Maybe they could carpool. Maybe they could take the train, or as it's called, the subway in some cities. Maybe they could do that. Maybe they could start working at home more. So those are all things you can do connected to transportation. Also, and I think I've talked about this before, when you buy cars, don't buy a brand new car. the moment you drive that car off the lot, it's already depreciated. So what we've always done, we bought a car about a year old, something like that. And we've gotten a lot of cars from Enterprise because they're low mileage. They go through them with a fine-tooth comb in terms of, how they're working automotively. So that's just something we've done. And how about families that have 2 or 3 cars? Good heavens. Maybe you could sell one of those, and that would be a solution to save on transportation. If you have an older car, maybe you need liability, and that's it. And you don't need collision because that just adds an extra cost. And then pay attention to deductibles. Maybe you could do a 500 or 1,000, and that's going to save you money. How about, and I'm not a fan of this, but because I go to a cheap car wash. I go to a gas station car wash that's about, I don't know, $7 or less. But what about washing your own car at home? If you're able to do that. When it comes to things like housing, maybe you could move to a house that is less cost. Now, of course, these days that's going to depend on how much, if you're going to sell a house, how much equity you have in your house to buy another one. So you might
Yes.
be good where you're at. And you can always challenge property tax assessments if you think, wow, this is just too much. Our house isn't worth this. House down the street sold for X number of dollars. So you can always challenge that. If the interest rates are right, maybe you can refinance. Now, here's something that I thought was interesting because in saving on housing, this also includes your bills like, your electricity, your water, your gas, all those kind of things. So I noticed that our electric had gone up. And it didn't seem like for any perceptible reason. So I thought, I'm going to call Edison and see why and what we can do. Now, I'll tell you, I was on the phone for a little while and the lady was getting irritated, but I didn't care because she wasn't giving me the answers that I needed. So finally, she said, don't use things like your dishwasher, your washer, your dryer between the hours of 4 to 9 p.m. because
Wow.
those are peak hours. And even when our daughter was living with us, we watched them to make sure they didn't use the appliances, those 2 appliances like that, during that time frame. And we did notice a change. We noticed a change in our electric bill.
Mm.
So, yeah, so you just never know what you can do unless you start calling these entities and saying, hey,
Yeah.
look, I need to reduce my cost. What can I do? And so that's a big one. In the financial area, have a budget. You got to have a budget. Otherwise, you're going to overspend in one or more areas. And when you shop for things like insurance, auto insurance, homeowners, even medical, if it isn't offered at your job, I would say at least once a year, see if there's anything you can do to decrease that cost, or maybe go
Mm.
with another company. That would be another thing. Also, and this is something we've always done, sell or donate items that you no longer want or use, because guess what? You can write them off on your taxes. So I'm a big one like this. I don't care if my daughter gives me a bag of clothes. Of course, I have to sort them and I have to say so many shorts, so many shirts, so many dresses, whatever it is, and then take them to Goodwill. And then I have like a spreadsheet I think it's from the Salvation Army, where you can put the cost of these used items and then write them off. I mean, why not? My daughter isn't going to
Yeah.
bother doing that, but I said, give them to me. We'll take the write-off. So
Mm.
that's something that you can do. Let's see, what else here? When it comes to general things, and once again, these are things that people don't want to hear, but when it comes to dining, treat that as a luxury, not like, oh yeah, we're going to go out to eat. No, because it is more expensive. And especially if you go to places like fast food places, those aren't healthy, let's face it. It's fast, but it's not healthy. Make a burger at home, get those fries in a bag where you can put them in the oven,
Mm,
it's so much better for you that way.
absolutely.
Go out once in a while when your budget dictates it, when you can afford it. Let's see. Use the internet instead of driving. So, what this means, this is why people are buying things on Amazon a lot. Now, I'm not a huge fan of Amazon for certain things, but it does work for people as long as they don't overspend on those items. So that's something else right there. Discontinue club memberships that you're no longer using. Doesn't make any sense. And if push comes to shove, so to speak, you can go on YouTube. They have yoga classes. They have all kinds of classes that you can do on YouTube, believe it or not. Don't charge something if you can pay it with cash, which you should be paying everything with cash or debit card as dictated by your budget. So, and shop at discount or warehouse stores. Garage sales, how about that? I've gone to garage sales for, let's say, I needed a table and I wasn't going to go to a furniture store and pay full price. When you go to these garage sales, oftentimes they have some really good things and at good prices. I'm not ashamed to go to a garage sale. What the heck? Anyway, and thrift stores and consignment stores. Many times, if you go through those stores, they have some really good things as well. Anyway, that's what I got today, Jackie, for everybody. So I hope that helps, and I hope that people start having hope in their lives and look at this as a journey and a way to survive in what's going on out there in the economy. So, yeah. So what do you have?
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you, Linda. And I'm here to announce that we do have a braiding camp coming up. We're so excited. This is our first cohort of a braiding camp with one of our best braiders. The idea is to teach youth entrepreneurship, marketing, and also, talk about finances in this short cohort. And then we also have the cooking camp.
Oh,
This is our third cohort. We're looking for a place to go. We're excited. And so with the cooking camp, we usually teach youth how to eat healthy.
yeah.
The braiding camp and the cooking camp are life skills in that they are things that they can do if, for example, they grow up and they're in a tough situation. I know braiding is always income for some people, and that's how they survive sometimes. But now it's so lucrative, like you can even make a career out of it with the aid of social media. So I want to make sure we really promote that entrepreneurship within our youth.
Mm,
Those are the two areas that we decided to focus on because it's a life skill. You can't go anywhere without having food, or you can go anywhere without doing your hair. So um,
yes, this
you
is
can see my
true.
hair has been done by one of
Yes.
my one of our braiders, and she's an excellent braider. She's so impressive. She does dreadlocks, she does everything. So
Mm,
I'm happy that she's gonna
wow.
pass this on to the youth, and I think we're looking forward. And that will be June 22nd. So
Mm.
stay tuned for that. But that was it for me. Anything else you want to add, Linda?
No, what I would say, if people want to know how to budget, I
Yeah,
can help them with that. If they want to save money on things that they're currently paying for, any
right.
insurances, I could help them with that. I could take a look at what they have and see if I can save them some money. And
Yeah.
also, when you talk about entrepreneurship with Primerica, there's a great opportunity to learn from the best about entrepreneurship. Yes.
Awesome. And how can the people reach you?
Okay, so they can reach me at 818-378-3752. That's my cell number.
Sounds good. Thank you so much, Linda. Until next time.
Yes.
Bye.
Till next time. Bye bye, everybody.